We're all anxious to get going because it's such a nice day, and so we are videotaping our meeting, and I guess if you have not signed in, I'd like it if you would sign in. You'll see by our agenda that we have some presentations that are going to be made tonight. And also, Robin will explain to us a little bit about an annual meeting. An annual meeting is a meeting of the electors of our township. It is not a regular meeting of the board, and so you, the electorate, will be making the motions and doing the voting. Do you want to explain that, Robin?
Yeah, as far as the voting for the items that are on the agenda, if there's any voting needed, the electorate can either decide to use a show of hands or by ballot. With this many people, I would think, in my opinion, a show of hands would be sufficient. We just need to make sure if you're showing your hands, you raise them up high, and I have an opportunity to count clearly. We'll verify that number, and then we can move on. So, unless anybody objects to a show of hands. Okay.
So, Robin, do you want to give a few highlights right now about voting and where we're at?
Sure.
For the next upcoming November election?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's been a lot of confusion with the voting because of the recent mailing that the Wisconsin Elections Commission sent out. What I understand is if anyone that had a request in for an absentee ballot for the November election by June 1st, I think it was, they probably did not receive one of those notifications. What they did was they generated their list from that date forward for electors that were already registered to receive a reminder about how to check your voter registration status and how to check your absentee ballot registration status. And then along with that mailing, they decided to send a paper application for those who may not be computer savvy. So it's been confusing a lot of people about the fact that maybe they already have a request in, and why are they getting another application. Biggest thing is that you're really encouraging people to use the website or to contact your local clerk. So if you already have a request in, if you're not sure, contact me or check the website. If you know for sure you have a request in, you can ignore the mailing.
All right, thank you. Due to the current public health concerns and a surge in new COVID-19 cases in Jefferson County, the annual meeting has been postponed by Chairperson Osdike per state law, Act 185, to September 8th, 2020 at 6 p.m. Jefferson County, Korth Park Shelter, N 8390, Korth Lane, Lake Mills, Wisconsin, 53551. I would like to call the annual meeting of the electors to order. Robin, will you make a presentation of the 2019 annual financial statement of revenues, expenditures, and current indebtedness of the town to the electors as according to statute 60.41 of the Wisconsin statutes?
Make sure everybody's got a copy. I set my copy over here. Okay, so it's required that the town provide the electors with the expenditures and the revenue totals from the previous year. So these numbers are for 2019. Along with the numbers, I've used some graphs to understand where our taxes are going to, both at a total level of all the breakouts of the taxing jurisdictions as well as our local level. So the total, I'm assuming to move it along, we're just going to do the total. If anybody's got questions on any of the balances, let me know. Total expenditures for 2019 was $1,157,594.86. Total revenues for 2019 was $1,047,516.67. And if you look at the large graph, this is the breakout of all of the town taxes that are collected that are used specifically for the town. And then the small graph, along with this box, shows the breakout of your tax bill going to the different taxing jurisdictions, such as the county, school districts, town, MATC, etc. Any questions?
Are there any questions? Hearing none. Someone have a question? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion from the floor to approve this. State your name, sir.
Thank you, Dan.
Is there a second? Thank you. Is there any discussion or any more questions? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the financial report, please say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand. I guess we're raising our hands. And all opposed, the same sign. Thank you.
Yep.
Item 3, presentation of the 2019 annual police report. Matt?
2019, the boat patrol had 885 hours of boat hours logged. They issued 55 citations, 45 warnings, had 174 compliant and safety inspections of boats, assisted 8 persons on the water, and 7 vessels assisted in 1 boating accident for the whole season. For the road patrol, we had 536 hours. We handled 53 complaints, spent 83 and a half hours on those complaints, had 2 felony arrests, handled 2 traffic crashes, 205 traffic stops, 9 repair notices, 112 warnings, 137 traffic citations, spent 158 and a half hours on stationary radar, issued 23 ordinance violation tickets, 19 residence checks, 147 park checks, and 31 extra patrols during the year.
Anything else or any questions for Chief Miller? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 4, discussion and decision of the 2019 minutes of the annual meeting of electors.
That is attached to the agenda, the annual meeting agenda.
I would entertain from the floor again a motion to approve the minutes of the 2019 annual meeting.
Who is it?
Name?
Who
Thank
was
you.
it? I'm sorry. John?
John McCord.
Okay,
Thank you, John. Is there a second from the floor? Thank you very much. Is there any discussion or questions on the minutes of the past annual meeting? All in favor of approving the minutes from the 2019 annual meeting, please raise your hand. And all opposed, the same sign. Thank you very much. The minutes are approved. Item 5, business. It is suggested to keep your presentations at 15 minutes, and I know all of you, so look out. The first item is a presentation of a proposed facility project by the Cambridge Fire Commission, and we are welcoming many of the members of the Cambridge Fire Commission and Chairman Kapsner from the town of Oakland. Welcome, Gene.
I'm Gene Kapsner, President of the Cambridge Fire EMS Commission. We're going to have a couple short videos, and then our fire chief, Terry Johnson, will give us a little bit of a history, where we came from, where we're at, and where we intend to go. So without further ado, I'll have Andrew do the first one.
When you're a first responder, you're always up against time. Minutes, even seconds matter.
Since we're in a rural area with a lot more miles to cover, saving time is even more critical.
Our department is here to help more than 7,000 people, 365 days a year. From our station here in downtown Cambridge on Main Street, we cover all of Cambridge.
Rockdale, Christiana, Oakland, and Lake Mills.
We also assist other communities under mutual aid contracts as needed. In a rural area that big,
We need every second to count when we get the call.
as our communities grow, so do the needs of emergency services.
There is one thing that is not growing accordingly, our station.
Our daily operational needs have simply outgrown our existing space. Presently, we have our EMT resident across the street, across Highway 12, and when they have a busy call, they have to cross that street, get to the station. With every second counting, that's a trucks that are leaving on calls. For some calls, we have to get equipment from another building before we can go. That takes precious time. Our offices and common areas are just too small to function efficiently, and that wastes time. Together, all this makes improving experience first responders happen. Ms. Matters, where's
Over the last 3 years, incident volume, traumatic injuries, and cardiovascular calls went up.
So the Cambridge Fire EMS station was built in the early 80s, and things have changed dramatically. Our communities are larger, demand on our services for trauma and for illnesses has increased incredibly. So we need to move this station into the 21st century.
When you're spending the kind of money that it's going to take to do that, you want to make sure you do it right.
The new station will have living quarters for EMS and firefighters.
It will have a bigger apparatus bay to handle the current and future changes to first responder equipment. More office, meeting, and training space will finally allow us to act efficiently do all of our work when we're not on call. A new workout area, which is common at EMS and fire stations, will help our staff stay physically and mentally sharp. This is where we work out now. Kind of scary. We can save time and be more efficient.
We can do better and hold more people.
Right now, it's time for a new station.
It's time for a new station.
It's time for a new station. It'll save us time, make us more efficient, so we can serve you better. If you have any questions or want to learn more, we'd love to hear from you.
We look forward to your support. Thank you.
Over a year ago, we hired a consulting firm, or I shouldn't say a consulting firm, a building firm out of Pecana, by the name of Keller. We've got a lot of experience in fire stations, so we'll show you a virtual tour of the new station.
So I'm Terry Johnson, the chief at the Cambridge Volunteer Fire Department. So we noticed the need for expansion of our station back in 2015 in the fall. And they did hire an architect at that point. And we went through a couple of years of putting together a needs assessment to what we wanted, what we needed, and how we would put it together. And then it took a couple of years. We looked at certain areas in the village and out of the village to try to have room to expand. And then we came to the conclusion that the commission through the town of Christiana bought the property next door to the existing fire station. And so we decided to try to expand into that area. And at that point, in I think December of last year, they hired Keller, Keller is actually doing the Fort Atkinson expansion at this time. So, Devin Flanagan, our main contact with Keller, has put together a plan for us. We went through the needs assessment that we had gone through, and we put together the plan. It's going to be a three-stage building addition and remodel. We're going to build a entirely new bay area, apparatus bay for the fire and the EMS, which will be out where the pizza pit and the house back there currently stands, which will be taken down. And at that point, when that's done, we'll take the existing fire apparatus bay and move that into the new apparatus bay, and then build the offices and the meeting rooms in that middle area. And when that's done, and then they'll add on the dormitories, the day room, the exercise room, and that type of thing in the third area. So it's a three-stage project. And at this point, the five municipalities, we have the Village of Rockdale, Town of Christiana, Village of Cambridge, part of the Town of Oakland, and part of the Town of Lake Mills. And the commission will decide in October whether to ask the municipalities to run the referendum next spring, in April of next spring, and then the municipalities will decide in November if they want to run the referendum to help pay for the expansion and the addition. So the timeline is October, November, there'll be a decision made to do the referendum. The referendum will be in April of '21. So then at that point, if that passes, the bids, the station plans will be finalized, the bids will go out in the fall and the winter of '21 to '22, with construction starting in the spring of '22, and a completion on the project in probably summer or fall of 2023. So in order to get the full project done, we're still 2.5 years away from getting it all done, but we're making progress here, and anything else, Dean, you think?
We wanted to make sure that we could continue services without moving. That's the reason it's a three-phase project, so that we don't lose fire or EMS protection while we're doing the construction. So that was a big part of what we needed to do.
So the main reasons for the expansion is we're out of room in our station. We do have a garage in the back where we have our rescue boat is in a locked garage in a separate building. And also the safety concerns in the building with the crowding of the fire apparatus. And right now we have our turnout gear in the apparatus room, where we found out in the last 5 to 10 years there's been quite an increase in incidence of cancer, certain types of cancer in firefighters that have their gear in the apparatus bay. So that's another issue that we're really looking at, to get our gear into a separate room with a separate ventilation from the apparatus bay. Our long-term health and well-being of our firefighters is pretty up front and center right now. And also the safety. We're having people getting dressed to go to an incident, and they're only half a foot or 2 feet away from a fire truck that's running. We're just hoping and praying that the driver puts the thing in drive and not reverse. So I guess we'll open up for questions.
Any questions?
I have a question. First of all, thank you for your service. You said you about many volunteer firefighters. Can you tell me, is the design changed at all based on this global pandemic that we're having, as far as keeping the firefighters separate when they're in the building? I noticed the workout area was really crowded. Is there going to be more
There'll be more.
rooms? Is there separate meeting facilities? Or
Well, and also I guess currently the EMS does have 24-hour shifts, people that actually live in an apartment across the street, like we showed on the first video there, and they do have a room there, but there will be separate rooms there'll be 8 separate rooms in the building for dormitories, so there'll be separation there. The exercise room will be quite a bit bigger.
So you feel like they could be separate enough, this like 6-foot thing that we've got going on?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Good to hear.
This new building actually has a dedicated decontamination area right off the apparatus bay. Now, decontamination is probably the single biggest thing that's affected us, especially on the EMS side, but right now, in order to decontaminate the ambulance actually has to pull outside, because there's not enough room in the station to pull the gurney completely out of the ambulance without hitting the back wall. So, that will improve things.
The other thing that we also looked at too, when we picked out the interior, we picked out hard surfaces, as many as we could, so they're non-absorbing and a lot easier to sanitize.
Hi, Mike Ellison, Town of Lake Mills. Just curious, you know, when you look at the budget here, $250,000 going to fire service, how does that equate for Cambridge as far as the impact to the Town of Lake Mills itself? And you have 5 other jurisdictions that you are helping with, so.
Currently, the Town of Lake Mills, we have 7% of the area,
Okay,
and but 2.3% of the assessed value, equalized assessed value. So right now, the commission had put together some numbers, and the assessment per 100,000 of property would be between $3 and $5.
okay.
For the Town of Lake Mills residents, the building is actually going to be spread over the whole Town of Lake Mills, not just the area we cover.
Right, that was my follow-up, but I
Yeah.
didn't get that, okay.
Yeah, that answer your question?
It does, thank you much.
Okay.
That's pretty much my question.
Okay. So between $3 and $5 at this point, if the referendum goes through, there'll be some financial advisors putting together the exact numbers to determine what that would be.
Shouldn't that be done prior to the referendum, though?
I'm sorry, it'll be done before the referendum.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
As soon as the commission makes the decision whether we're gonna run the referendum or not, definitely we'll hire a financial advisor to do that.
You
gentlemen.
for having us. Appreciate that.
There's some literature here too on the table if you like, pick that up. And also if you go to cambridgebfd.com, all this information is on the website. So there's a special page on the website that sends you right to all the information on the remodel. cambridgebfd.com. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Hope.
Thank you guys. Thanks for coming. And just so you guys understand, we are a portion of the Cambridge Fire District and the Cambridge School District in the town of Lake Mills. And Supervisor Springer is our representative on the Cambridge Fire Commission. So he's been in on it. Let's move on to item B. Welcome Rick Bradle. We'd like to have a short presentation of updates on the Daybreak Foods project. And Rick has graciously consented to be here this evening. You need help, Rick?
I'm going to take this one up. I think I'm far enough away from all of you. And I commend Hope on saving on the utility bill for the township. Okay. So, tonight, now I was looking back and that May of 2018 is when the first excavator showed up on site to start our project. And as many of you have seen over the many meetings that we had with you, we had a dream a lot like the fire department here. It wasn't quite that cool where you could do a virtual walkthrough, where you see chickens moving around. But what is interesting is if you compared, and I didn't bring them all, but if you compared the renditions that we did at the time with what we ended up with, it's pretty darn close, okay? And so tonight, this is my final presentation for you as this project comes to completion. There's literally just a couple things left to do. But I am going to talk about kind of where we're at with things, where we're at both construction-wise and operational. Right. So we'll start out talking about our state of construction. We've got all three pull-up buildings down. You can't see them here. Boy, it just takes off on me. But the pull-up buildings are kind of over here. Right. So all three pull-up buildings have actually had quite a few blocks already run through them. All 5 layer buildings right here are completed and up and running. The manure storage structure in the back, that's all up and finished. Our processing plant right here, that's been running for quite some time, since last December actually. We have our biosecurity and office building up here in the front. That's kind of where actually all of our stakeholders come in. We got some sites where we actually shuttle people around the site. In fact, we do a little bit of that over at our Polish site here. But otherwise, everybody comes in kind of the front door, and then they make their way to different parts of the complex, depending on what their job is. The feed mill, which you see right here, is complete and up and running. Our site work and any demolition that had to take place, so as many of you are probably as happy as I am that there's 9 layer buildings that just aren't there anymore. Thank the Lord. And what is left of the original site really now is only 2 buildings, and that's 2 of the original manure storage structures, which are officially empty. One of them is actually filled with additional equipment. When you put a lot of what's called aviary equipment inside these buildings, you get a lot of leftover stuff. And that's what's inside one of those buildings. The other building is completely empty. And we'll probably use that for some equipment storage also. We're looking at now at probably doing some remodeling, just aesthetically make them a little nicer. We did keep them permanent as manure buildings if we ever needed them in an emergency, but they are no longer being used for that. In fact, they'll be full of other things before they'll ever get manure. The original residence, the Nelson home, was, and I don't know if it actually ever lived there, but that was located right here. That was just removed from the site. It needed to go. It was just, very, very tired and very old. The red barn is still there, if you haven't noticed, and that's going to stay there. In fact, we're going to do some carpentry on the outside, kind of get it fixed back up again. paint it in the spring, and in fact, the president of our company is looking at making it into a museum. So it's really a pretty building, so we definitely intend on keeping that. The last few things left to do on the site itself are really small. There's some traffic control gates that have to go on the site yet, and a little bit of site lighting. Don't let the site lighting worry you, it's 2 light poles. And the light poles, we've specified very down lighting, and it's just for in the winter when people have to walk to their cars either early in the morning or at night when it starts to get dark after 5 o'clock. So, and also, I couldn't tell you the exact spots, but there'll be more over here in this parking area and probably one over here in this parking area. State of operation. So what's going on the site right now? In the pullet site, so those 3 pullet buildings have cycled 13 flocks through those buildings. Each of those buildings house 200,000 birds. And what they do is then 200,000 birds goes into 1/2 of one of these buildings. So what that tells you is if there's 13 flocks have gone through it, each one of these has been populated, so each half will hold 200,000 birds. And the first half of the first building has already been depopulated and was just repopulated in the last week. So that's call it 90 weeks of age. That flock is the first one to cycle completely through the site. That's how long it takes to build one of these things, about 2 years. Let's see, so the number of flocks gone into aviary then, and that's what we call it, aviary cagery, is 11 flocks. The site so far has produced just over 15 million eggs. Has come out and literally gone through that processing plant. Originally the plant was up and running just as a liquid plant, and now it's converted over to graded product. And when we say graded, that's going to be shelved. And the plant is designed to do both at the same time, which it's actually doing. So product that our customer wants to have packaged, we package. Anything else gets converted to liquid. And this plant does separating, so it's separating it by white, yolk, and whole. And that happens every day, 365 days a year. Let's see, the feed mill, right here. Pete William is our feed mill manager. The site is completely up and running, and they're actually doing very well. It's a very nice feed mill, probably one of the best in the state right now. Definitely the most advanced. We use a control group out of Milwaukee for our control systems, and they're quite impressed with the construction of that mill. So far, it's produced about 54,000 tons of feed that have either gone into these feed bins right here, or the feed bins over at the pullet site. The over-the-road conveyor, which we all knew was always a challenge. So you see it right here. And for some of you see it probably every day. Hopefully it's quiet. I've been under it many times when it's running and you literally do not hear it. So that's always good to know. They're actually doing some additional improvements on it. The company that designed and built it decided they wanted to upgrade it, a few things for us, so that's being done. And it's been doing a great job for us. It's performing exactly how we wanted it to. As a part of our agreement with the township is to do an annual engineering inspection of the structure that crosses the road for the sake of safety. And that will actually take place the first time, October 1st of this year. So we're actually a little ahead, but we wanted to start it right away. And when we put the proposed plan together for the inspection, we had it down as October 1st. And the inspection engineering company called me and said, well, do you want to wait till it's been a year? And I said, nope, we committed to October. We're going to do it in October. So October 1, they're going to be on site. They'll do a full visual inspection. They'll be taking boomless up there, check all welds, bolts, all that kind of thing, make sure it's structurally sound. And that will happen every year. That report will go to Daybreak Foods. It'll go to the townships and the town's engineers. Crossman Road repairs. Okay, so there's a few things left to do there yet. There's some cold patching that we're going to, I shouldn't jump ahead. So, you can do a hot patch or you can do cold patch. So during construction, we did quite a bit of cold patch because it was such a continuous thing. There is some cold patch left to do. That's kind of great for little potholes, but not for larger areas. There is one larger area, I'm going to do my best to find it here. I think it's right in here. And by the end of this month, by October 1, we will have that hot patch done. There'll be a cut in that road, they'll dig it out, bring in asphalt, and make it ideal. So that'll be done yet this year. The wastewater lagoons, just an update. Those don't really show up on here. They're back over here by the older facility. So we have done some upgrades on them. We've done additional what's called seeding into the system. As the plant ramped up and the old plant ramped down, we wanted to be consistent. So we did some additional seeding into that, and we've also added additional aerators into that system. And we're working with another engineering firm now to even make that better. In our business, we don't like to be in the utility business. We don't want to be in the wastewater business. We don't want to be in the power business. We don't want to be in the water business. Okay? We like to do what we do best, which is produce eggs and take good care of birds. All right, so our preference is to have the engineers help us with that. If there's other opportunities that we can do with wastewater in the future, we're probably going to look into that. We're currently doing that at some of our other facilities. I don't have a lot of detail, but it could be quite encouraging. Lastly, want to talk a little bit about truck traffic, employee traffic, that kind of thing. As we all anticipated, I sure did, the traffic on Highway A and Crossman Road has increased. We predicted it would. The county did, I think, a pretty darn good job on Highway A, considering the marsh area and everything that they had to go through. Sure seems like a good safety improvement there. As you may recall, the township was awarded a grant, and I understand that there was some challenges with the grant process, but nevertheless, that's going to continue to move forward, and so that Crossman Road can be improved, which will be good. Like I said, we have some gates that are going to go in, and that will control people coming in and off the site, but the gates will be back far enough in so that if truck traffic, say, arises in the middle of the night, and sometimes that happens, they'll be able to pull off of the road completely and be on our site and not be parked even alongside the road. That's just not a good idea. We have had a few comments about jake brakes, and if you don't know what that is, that's like an exhaust braking system that a lot of large trucks have. I'm sure some of you heard them in different locations. And we have advised all of our drivers that come in and out, not only obviously our own drivers, but drivers that work with people that supply us with things, to not use jake brakes in the area. I think at previous meetings I had explained that I tried to get the county to help put up some signage on Highway A. Their challenge with it is the enforceability. It's very hard to enforce jake brake rules because, you know, when it happens, and by the time you know that there's a problem, they're gone. So really, it's all about communication. The third thing, though, and I think probably one of the most important things, is we are making it a point to be very, to influence drivers and trucks coming on and off the site. Do not go any further south than Crossman Road than our site. Go back down, take Highway A. That highway is built for that. Crossman Road, even with improvements, nobody wants that to be a super highway. By the time you get down to the end, where are you going to go? So the idea is, you know, get the traffic go rolling in the right direction, and we're already working with our vendors to make sure that happens. Let's see, just one other note. There is an upcoming public hearing. Now, I have not seen the date for that. I talked to our manager, Keith Krul, today to find out if he had gotten information from the DNR, and it's for our WPS permit renewal for the entire site. That'll be a Zoom meeting, of course. That's kind of how that's working these days. And as I imagine that will get published as far as the meeting date. Nice thing about a Zoom meeting is everyone can participate. You can do it from your living room instead of in here. So that could be good. So that's where we're at. Questions or anything I can answer?
Go ahead.
Hi, I have a question for you. We live over on Highway G, approximately 6 miles from the plant, and I'm curious about noise pollution with the fans.
Okay.
Because when I go outside, I hear the woo, 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 and I can turn and go in every direction, and every time I turn to the west, to the a little bit to the northwest, it's coming from that direction, and as I come this way on Hope Lake, I hear it even louder. I don't think that far away we should be getting that kind of noise, and I can't imagine what the people who live near it are
Right,
hearing.
well, you can come by our house.
Huh?
It's like if we live on the airport.
Yeah,
Literally.
exactly. That's exactly what I would think it would be.
Yeah, and we can see them in our backyard.
So listen, and I do want to address it. So, I think most of you know, and some of us here participated in a recent article that the paper did. And at the end of the day, you know, we meet requirements. But it's one thing to meet requirements, it's another thing to be a good neighbor. Now, I know you've heard some of this before, but I'm going to tell you, not everything happens as quickly as we would all like it to.
Well, Daybreak said that they were done though.
You were quoted in that
You were
article.
literally quoted in that article. And after you got the whole conveyor and stuff like that, you guys had zero, like, communication with anybody.
So let me just make this comment.
Yes.
Because it's relative to anything that you see in this picture. Right? This operation is basically just starting up. Okay? Yep, there's a lot of chickens here. Yep, there's a lot of people working here. Yep, there's a lot of activity. Very pretty site. Probably one of the best in the nation. But just started off. Okay? If any of you have ever been involved in operations, and I personally have, it takes 2 to 4 years to actually tune in an operation of this site. It just doesn't. You don't start something up and it works perfectly right away. We wish it did. Okay. The whole concept of what's called aviary cage-free is really new to the U.S. And the reason it's new to the U.S., it's not new to the world. In Europe, it's been around for quite some time. But in the United States, we're kind of like Texas. We don't do anything small. It's just the nature of our economy. You can't. It doesn't work. All right? So everything gets done on larger scale. The thing is, it's never really been tested at large scale. So when companies like us, and there's probably 10 of them out there right now in the country that are doing these types of projects, they're running into the same types of issues that they have to learn and then fix. Okay? So we are in the process of learning. Whether it's a noise issue, whether it's a traffic issue, whether it's how birds act, whether it's productivity, whether it's how much feed, how many feed trucks come in, all of that kind of thing are all being learned by the facility. And if you drove by the facility 6 months ago and compare it, because I get to the facility now about every 6 weeks, and I can see improvement every time I come. Every time. It isn't monumental, but it's incremental. And incremental changes stick. That's the good thing. If you do something in a flash in the pan, it doesn't last.
Thank you, Rick. And I am going to commend you. You know, the order issue is substantially
A lot better.
so much improved. There has been a couple issues. I think sometimes you end up with an issue with the lagoons, but as you said, you're working on that. But it has been substantially better this last weekend. You know, sometimes we get, I think it's a southwesterly wind and it comes off those lagoon surfaces a little bit odd. But the problem that I have personally is you had an opportunity in that newspaper article to have addressed us in a different manner than what you did. And the way you addressed us by saying, basically you told the world, if not the local community, Daybreak was done, screw us. And I found that to be totally inappropriate, given the fact that you have pulled us aside time and time again after or throughout this process telling us you're going to be a good neighbor. And you told us that privately, you told us that publicly. And now, I might as well be living at Mitchell Field.
Well,
We're getting decibel readings
Well, I think-
in the 70s and 80s.
And I understand you're going to sit here today and tell us that you're going to work on this. I can understand that. You know, nothing can be engineered overnight. But you're going to acknowledge that there is indeed a problem and that you're willing to work with it.
I can't acknowledge the fact that there's a problem because it's a perceived problem. What I think is loud and you think is loud might be different than somebody else thinks.
We use the
I'm
same
not-
decibel meter, Rick, that the chief uses, that the county uses, the county sheriff uses. And not all the time, but most of the time, the decibel readings are in the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
I even have 80s.
At my house.
So,
And I know they're getting the same readings. I don't know what kind of readings you got from your study, but they weren't 45 decibels.
So-
You know it.
yeah, well, all I can do is use is what the inputs. Because that's.
Can you do another study?
So, I can tell you this. So there are many different environmental controls that go into this entire site. Lots of them.
Would you do another
This is all
study?
computer controlled, and we're in the process now. Now we go into commissioning and reevaluating everything, and then decide what changes have to be made. Some of those changes. Heck, I've met with 2 contractors today about things on the site. Just improve little things that eventually help the kind of things you're talking about, but you wouldn't know it like at 3 o'clock, but you might know in 3 months. Okay? You know,
If I know that you're working on this, Rick, I think we're good. But at the same time, I don't want you to sit here and, you're kind of talking out of both sides of your mouth.
because I can't promise you anything.
Well, you're the boss.
No, I'm not.
You
All I
promised
do-
us
No. All I do
a lot
but listen.
when you
but
wanted
listen, Daybreak,
approval.
no. But Daybreak's commitment is also to its neighbors. That has been said to me more than once. We're not done. They said we're not done.
But that's not what you said to the paper, Rick.
Yeah, that's not what you said in the article.
Well, if you want us to be done,
No, we don't. We want you to fix what you've done.
You said you have no more plans for the acoustic.
I can't speak specifically to any one answer tonight. I can't do that.
Okay, because
We don't have, because you're holding me to every sentence I say. Therefore, how can I possibly promise you something that I don't know?
How about the fact that you haven't been engaging at all? Prior to that conveyor going across the road, you were spot on. You were on my property, you were all over the place. Anytime somebody...
Yeah.
No, but everybody plays a different role.
Now you're a
My
host.
role is construction,
Okay.
not operations. This now switches over to operations.
No, we're still in construction if you deal with, some of these
Well,
issues. But okay, we're gonna argue about that, and I guess I'm just asking, and I guess you're not gonna do it, but, secondly, I'd like to follow up. When we were given your other promises, the entire surface was supposed to be impervious, out there, and there's a substantial area that is, still gravel. And I know that particular neighbor, I don't think they're here tonight, but expressed considerable concerns about the dust levels. And this just happens to be right across the street from their home. I'm just curious, are you still planning on
Yes.
making everything impervious?
No, not everything. That area just across the street from the residence you're talking about, just from the road to the gate, that will be done. But not the rest of it, because we won't be using that.
Can you also do something about the chicken feathers that have feces on them that are going on the property? I'm curious, I'm just curious. Is there something you can do, like put a guard up or something so we can get it on our property?
You'd have to talk, you're talking to the wrong person about things like that. I'm not trying to, I'm just telling you.
You're not the person, and I'm far away from where these people are, so I have no idea, what they're experiencing. Like I said, I'm on Highway G. I'm just curious, if you're not the person to ask the question of what's going to happen, or can we get the feasibility studies done, who do we need to go to? Is that to the DNR, this next permit that's coming up?
You could do that, yep. You could
But
do
what
that.
about for your company? Who can we contact for your company to find out
It'd be,
the answers?
Keith Cool, the site manager. He'd be the place to start.
So I just want to, at some point in time, you changed the game from everything being impervious to now not this section. Why is that? And
I beg to differ. Everything that we said we would pay has been paid.
no, you said the entire project would be impervious.
Right, and it is. Everything you see here is paid. This is all
Okay,
paid.
but not, but
This is all paid.
I guess you didn't, I guess maybe, you can mince words, but you didn't indicate that you weren't going to be paving the old facility. You said everything.
Well, no, we never.
As a matter of fact, that neighbor, she specifically
If
asked.
I can answer that, please.
Okay.
We never intended to pave everything. What we paved was on a plan, and we showed that plan. What the DNR approved is what we put in front of the township and the county.
I don't want to speak on behalf of my neighbor, but I remember specifically her asking you in a meeting. about that, because it was right across the street from her and she wanted it paved, and you indicated that it would be.
The only area would be just that entryway.
Well, you obviously weren't very clear on that.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's what it would be.
Are there any more comments? Go ahead.
I just wanted to comment that I am in shock that it's okay for my neighbor to have feathers and animal poop on her property, bird feces, I don't know what you call it, but that's, to me, is I don't have that problem personally, but I'm in shock that my neighbor has that problem.
We have feathers in our yard
Disgusting.
too.
That should be unacceptable. I'm done.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much. Before we go any further, let's introduce our Eagle Scout. Take a little break in the action here. Calvin, why don't you introduce yourself and your parents and tell us a little bit about the project. Mostly our board knows about it, but I think the rest of the world would like to know about it.
Hello, I'm Calvin from Shore Hills neighborhood here in Lake Mills. I'm a junior at Lakeside Lutheran High School. I've been a Boy Scout for almost 6 years. And for my Eagle project, I work with Rock Lake Improvement Association to find a project that would benefit Rock Lake. There was a need for installing aquatic invasive species cleaning stations at each boat launch on the lake. These signs explain why it's important to remove aquatic plants from the boat and have tools that people can use to clean the boats and trailers. I started working on this project this past February, and the cleaning stations were completed on August 8th. I led 12 people to help me with this project, and altogether we worked 60 hours to complete the project. I got some pictures of each cleaning station for you to look at and pass around. And I would like to thank Rock Lake Improvement Association for helping me with the project and having the money to pay for the project. I would also like to thank Hope for being my single point of contact for the town of Lake Mills. And I'll take any questions if you have any.
Thank you very much, Calvin, and congratulations. I don't know when you receive your Eagle Award, but we appreciate your service, and I know the Improvement Association does too, so thank you very much. And thank you for helping.
You're welcome.
Both of you. Thanks. All right, we'll move on. Item C, discussion and decision to allow the town board to purchase land or to build a new town hall facility and allow the town board to sell existing town hall property. So how do we want to begin this discussion? I guess I'll start out. We have been approached by Jason Forrest and several partners. He is interested in purchasing our existing town hall at 1111 South Main Street. We met with him in a special meeting last Monday night. He was not prepared at our last meeting to talk money, and so we met with him last Monday and discussed the points that he would like to go over with us. He has made us an offer. I'm not sure if any of you have the minutes from that special meeting, but he has made us an offer telling us what he feels our town hall is worth at its current location and offering us to either swap or purchase additional land on Finch Brothers Road. This is not the first time we'd heard this proposal. He had made it to us, I think, back in 2017. Jim has done some futuring on what it would cost to build a new town hall. I guess we've done a little research on where we might meet as a township. This not being a very good location, I guess.
Maybe walls would help.
Yeah. And so we're kind of at a crossroads here. This has been discussed in the town of Lake Mills since, I believe, 1983 and probably prior to that. We thought we would put it on our annual meeting agenda so that we could hear how the town of Lake Mills people feel about it. Certainly, we wouldn't be able to enter into this without agreement from the township and its electorate and/or their support. Anyone have a comment or a thought? Tell us your name.
Dan Schultz. We've ended up, had a couple different facility things for the family at the Oakland Town Hall. And looking at that and their compost site and other things that they do have, it's very nice. And I'm old enough that I was in the previous town hall, which Jim probably could say also. But what we have now is old. Your storage area is inadequate for anything that you may need. And I would think that it would be a very good idea to pursue and see what the possibilities may be.
Anyone else have a comment? Go ahead.
I read that there was some property that the town owned on Conservation Road maybe, and that maybe that wasn't usable, and I don't understand, it wasn't clear as to why.
It was an old dump site. For years and years, it was a town dump. We hauled all kinds of stuff out there and buried it. That's one issue. We really want to dig that stuff up. Second issue, there's no security out there. It's kind of on a conservation road, kind of.
Dead end thing.
Yeah, it's a dead end, and security would be an issue. But the property is there. I mean, you could probably build something with storage, but then not necessarily town hall. So
If the town doesn't need it, would there be any plans moving forward to liquidate it?
Sure. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, shows the
I
money.
mean, why, hold on, and then if you're looking for revenues, rather than, throwing assessments around, maybe that would be some way to get additional cash into the deal.
I think you have a great idea. I would like you to look at the property online, go to the Jefferson County website and look at the property. It has a 66-foot right-of-way, which was a driveway that goes back to these 3 wooded acres. And it is really not suitable for what we would look for in a town hall as far as location and security.
Correct. Yeah.
So there's a value there.
We would need a motion or something from the electors to have us look into selling that. We can't sell anything on our own.
Sure. Well, I'll make a motion that you look into selling unused property owned by the town of Lake Mills on Conservation Road.
Second?
It's all right. Go ahead.
Who seconded it?
I second it.
Sherry?
Now, you have another comment you'd like to make in the discussion?
In the discussion area, is it okay to do that at this point, or do they have to?
Go ahead.
Okay. My concern with the property, and the township's gonna have to take the expense of the remediation of that area. I'm pretty sure there's pollution there because of what I saw being dumped there years ago, when we used to go to the dump. But I think that could really put, if you had somebody buy the property and put a house on it, I think that would still leave the township at the potential of years later having somebody come back and say, hey, I got cancer here because of whatever's in the ground. That's not completely removed.
I think at this point it was investigatory, but I think also that, disclosures at some level, if, you tell them it was a dump, that it was a dump. I don't know, I think it's something that maybe they can look at and get an opinion of value on it.
Is there any other
I don't
comments?
think there's anything that's, we're not dealing in accidents right now,
You're
right?
right. You're right.
I think, we got to get the town hall built in the next 2 years, when we get 50 years, the third town hall too, do that.
Our town hall doesn't owe us a nickel.
Said that on the property 2 more years. I talk about the fall of 2022 and summer fall of 2022 market.
Interesting.
Is it possible that the property on Conservation Road could be used for something other than residential, like maybe mini storage or something that doesn't?
Or a natural resource and sell it to the neighbor.
Go ahead.
I live in a tiny piece of property here, and I was wondering if there could be a place to put yard waste. I don't know if this dump hot dump would be a good place, or if there would be a facility in the new town hall, if we move it to.
This is a discussion that we had last week at our meeting, and we've had several times. We as a township pay for storage for our boat and our personal watercraft, also for our town squad, not to mention records and all of those kinds of things that we store. The 24 buoys, all of those things that go along with patrolling the lake. We are in a situation now where we have two different storage areas, and the rental fees on those storage areas are so very low that it's hard to justify building $1 million building to house a truck. Also, when you talk about yard waste, we do now have the service of John's Disposal 3 times a year to pick up our yard waste. It is limiting in the sense that it is done only 3 times a year, and there are rules that the yard waste must measure up to if it's going to be picked up. But here again, the cost of that yard waste removal is so very minimal compared to running a compost site. Not that it would not be something that would be fully utilized in the town of Lake Mills, especially after we have a storm like we did 2 weeks ago. But at the same time, I'm not sure that the costs justify the means. But it's certainly something that we continue to discuss. Go ahead.
Well, you're saying John has yard waste, is that strictly for Sherwood Hills, or is it for the whole township? Because I do not remember ever seeing yard waste pickup out by us.
We have never extended that out of the Shorewood Hills urban area. Most people who have acreage would be able to avail themselves of a burn pile or a compost site on their own properties. Hasn't been a desire to implement that town-wide.
Thank you.
We do have a motion on the floor.
And a second.
And a second. Would you like to vote on that now? All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. In favor?
Hands up, please.
Investigating the town hall. The sale of the property that the town owns. Sorry. You want to restate the motion, Robin?
The motion was to,
On the Conservation Road property.
right, to explore the sale of the property on Conservation Road. That was made by Mike Hellickson, seconded by Sherry.
All right, now again, all in favor of approving?
In favor, opposed.
Okay, all right.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
No. You got the positives already?
Yeah, I already got the positives. I counted 13 total.
All opposed then, and you counted those.
None.
0.
All right. So that motion passes. We'll investigate the possibility of selling those acres. Any other comments?
I checked with the rural development folks from the USDA on the community facility program, and their fiscal year ends October, and their new available funds to be doled out usually is released in December, and then the funds then will become available in March and April. And when they figure how much money could be possibly utilized by a township, it goes off your 2010 census, and they're expecting to get between $25 and $40 million from the federal government to be able to be used for community facility programs. I checked into the grant, and the town would not qualify for a grant. They do have up to $600,000 available, but that's strictly for equipment. So hope if you want to buy a backhoe or a dump truck, there's money there, but obviously $600,000 for the state of Wisconsin is really not a lot, figuring that a truck is probably around $100,000. So anyway, the money that could potentially be available through the community facilitating program through the USDA is for the construction of the facility only, which would, if you want to have a paved parking lot, then it would cover that stuff too. But The only thing is the USDA does not compete with the local banks. If you can go to and that's the first thing, there's two things that they're gonna require. One, you have to have clear and full title to the property. Two, you have to go to your local lender that you normally are using, and if their interest rate is equal to or less than what theirs would be, then because the USDA does not compete with locals, then we would not qualify. The rate of interest is set by the quarter. So whatever the quarter you're looking to borrow the money, then that quarter is where the interest rate is set. And then that interest rate would carry through for a full 20 years. So it's a 20-year loan, it's a 20-year arm, so at the end of 20 years it would be paid for. The other thing is in this facility program, the USDA would finance 100% of any of the financial needs you need for the building. The only kicker to that thing is if you have any cash, they take your cash first. So being a USDA program, we know how simple the federal government is. It's possible, but it's not simple. There's a lot of hoops. So when they were explaining about cash, I'm assuming cash applied money. I don't know how deep they would dig if it goes into capital outlays or reserves or anything like that. So I really didn't get into them that close to it with them. The other thing is when they set your interest rates, there is 3 criteria. It's either going to be a high or intermediate or at the poverty level. So you'd hope you'd hit the poverty level, so that would lower your interest rate. But right now, they're not giving out any money because they're almost at the end of their fiscal year. Right now, their interest rate is 2.5% for 20 years. So it is an avenue, but it takes 1 to 2 months before you'd know if you would qualify for it.
Not for purchase of land, though, only for purchase of building and
Correct.
construction.
Yep.
Okay. Anybody else have any really great ideas?
Who does the town currently use for lending?
We have a relationship with the Bank of Lake Mills, and we do our banking there and have our CDs there. We have been borrowing money from the Wisconsin State Trust Fund for municipal construction of roads. And those are really the only debts that we carry at this point in time. And there again, there are hoops to that program, and there is a very low interest rate to that program and a very good working relationship with small municipalities. And also part of the dollars from that Commissioner of Public Lands program goes to local libraries. So it's a win-win for the town in borrowing from them. I guess would be nice if you guys would give us some direction. You'd like us to sell the 3 acres of land or at least investigate that. What do you think about the idea of us either swapping or purchasing more land and turning that around?
I guess for me, it's a little hard right now because we don't have anything tangible to attach to here. It's a lot of ideas, but we have no numbers, we have nothing to go on. So it's difficult to answer that in any sort of solid way.
Glenn?
I was gonna pretty much say about the same thing. If you could get some tangible numbers, looking at what the cost would be, what would the trade-off be, how much land would you be able to get? And then that would be something more that somebody could, really see, okay, is this reasonable? And then for the 600,000 that you have to use on machines, I think you could burn up a little bit of that money and get a dredging machine.
I'll give you the phone number. But you're right, and it's the same thing when we're working at the Cambridge Fire Station. It all begins with need assessment. So you have to see what kind of square footage you need, how much room does Matt need, what does the town hall need? And obviously we have a cracker box right now, but it works. So But yeah, you're right. That way you can start to be able to make decisions.
And you get a better idea.
Have we looked at what it costs to put that need assessment together? I mean, we don't need something to the scale of the fire department plan.
No,
but
I would think that we would do kind of a needs assessment ourselves, till you get it kind of honed in before you would start to bring in any engineer or architect.
Right.
Well, and I think that if you guys are not privy to the information in the minutes from last Monday's meeting. And that is at a disadvantage for you at making decisions tonight. Jim has done sort of a down and dirty 45 years of experimentation with Vlad.
Well, I just threw some numbers in my head together and, with the storage, we need, this would be the most we would need. The ultimate plan would be 7,500 square feet, which would give, I forget the numbers, 2,000 square foot storage space, 1,500 square foot space that would be heated for the police and their boat and trailers and their equipment that we store now in other facilities. Be a 1,500 square foot meeting room, a 200 square foot kitchen, then you have your bath, toilets and stuff, 300 square feet for those and showers facility. I'm telling you, this would be a flush plan. And it came up to 7,500 square feet, and I took the Cambridge Fire Department, which is $250 a square foot, but that's the fire department, fire station, and scaled it back, and I think you could do something that's partially heated and partially not for around $100 a square foot. I think that's on the low end, but I think it's a good number to start with. But the 7,500 square feet, and that came up, of course, 750,000, but then you got parking and paving and stuff, so I added another 250 for that. So you're at $1 million for the ultimate plan for the town. But, we haven't sat down as a group or with an engineer or an architect to scale that back and try to refine those numbers. So, you probably get it down to 4,000 or 5,000. Maybe you don't need the storage at that facility. Maybe you build the storage out on the conservation property. All those things need to be looked at. So, but ideally, we'd want everything on one site, everything.
It could be considered to be done in stages too.
Right. Yeah. So that's just kind of a rough idea of what we were looking at, $1 million facility scaled back from there. So
does this process have to follow through annual meetings, or can it be dealt with monthly meetings?
No, it must be done by the electorate. And so we can present this and we could have a special meeting of the electorate.
Okay, but it's not something that we have to wait forever to finalize.
No.
We can work through this process and get the answers right.
correct.
Okay.
So is the site, sorry.
Sorry. As far as your question or comment was that the figures that we're kind of working with is 2.3 acres on Finch Brothers Road for the town hall property, building and town hall. So that's
As a swap.
as a swap. Pardon? Finch Brothers Road.
Just
off
off
of S, just over here.
Just north of.
The old muck farms?
Yeah, the old muck farms. up there.
Yeah.
That's by the bike trail.
It's where Jay Forrest has his construction facility. That's Finch Brothers Road, so we're about halfway down there.
There is an access point there to the Drumlin Trail.
Yep,
There is a
there's a cul-de-sac.
cul-de-sac, and there is also a salt bin for local residents to use in the winter months. And what Jason has suggested to us, we were kicking around the figure of $20,000 an acre. He said that he would trade us 2.3 acres on Finch Brothers Road for our current existing town hall, which is 79.4 feet of frontage on South Main Street.
Basically a quarter acre.
So that's food for thought. Yes?
Do we have an idea of what the building is worth right now? If you were to put that property up for sale to somebody other than him, and you wanted to sell it, what that building and land might be worth?
Well, I think that would be really difficult because that building has never been on the tax rolls. It's always been a municipal building. Mr. Forrest, I believe, paid $175,000 for the lot next door. That gives you an idea of what that real estate might be valued at.
How big is that property next door?
Well, it certainly has more frontage on 2 roads than ours does, but it probably is, yeah, 3 times bigger than ours.
Maybe 3/4 of an acre. I think she.
Go
I'd
ahead.
just like to say that with the town hall being in the city, I think that's a little bit odd, and you're totally landlocked. You know, you can't expand anywhere, you can't, and it really should be in the township. So I really think that with the offer that's been made, it should at least be pursued. The Finch Brothers Road is pretty central in the township, is it not?
And that too, Margaret, is what we had voted on maybe 10, 15 years ago as a municipality, to seek 10 acres more centrally located in the township so that it would be not within the city limits and more accessible to people. And I think the accessibility is one of the things that I look at, is to be on a major road or off a major county highway so that we can have the kind of facility that we could use for another 100 years. Go ahead.
How many acres did you say 10 years ago you were looking at?
10.
10? And this is 2.5?
Yes.
There's more land available there. The swap was 2.3 acres, but there's an additional 3 in that.
Yeah, but I think he was kind of talking that he would go up to 10 possibly.
Oh. But I don't know if we need 10.
No,
We
I think
need 10.
5 would be the
5
max
would
we
be
probably
max.
really would
Can
need.
you counter offer him for like 5 acres instead of 2.5?
He'd sell us whatever we want.
No problem with that.
What do you need 5 acres for?
You've got growth within the township. You've got acreage that still doesn't have houses on it. Look at what Sherwood Hills was like 10, 15 years ago, and how many houses are there. That brings more populace into the community, into the township. That would allow additional growth if they had to add on to the building. It would allow for additional parking if they needed to. I think we need to be forward thinking. He wants that property bad enough. If we said, hey, we'll take 5 acres and you can have our building and the 0.7 acres, it would be a win-win for both sides.
I think that you have to seriously develop a sense of value, whether that be a broker price opinion or an appraisal or whatever have you. I'm thinking 20,000 an acre of farmland out in the middle of Town Lake Mill sounds a little bit steep to me. But I'm just, why not engage, save $1, have Barry Luce come over and tell you what the building's worth.
He did a comparable listing of properties in the town, and they are, I mean, there's a 10-acre piece of woods over in the town of Waterloo, they want 200.
But you're not buying 10 acres of woods. You're buying 10 acres of corn.
It's farmland.
Right,
Well,
woods are gonna carry a little bit more value, I
Yeah,
argue.
okay, correct, good.
I'd just like to add to it, I think that where the town hall sits is a pretty nice piece of location of property. It doesn't really serve the township the way we would like it, but I think that 2.3 acres, I think that I would be negotiating at least 4 acres for that property, and one should try to do that anyway. 2.3 doesn't seem fair, and for farmland, 20,000, like he said, sounds a little high. I think that you could negotiate a little more acreage, and that would make it worth more to the township. There's got to be some wiggle room there, and unless you push back on it, you'll never know.
I think it's always tough when you don't have a competing force. You just have one guy out there right now telling you what he wants to do. And that makes it difficult, but I think that's a great solution, is try to negotiate what you want. You want 5 acres, negotiate to that.
Yeah, the question that we're asking you for tonight is not to do that swap, it's permission to move forward looking at that. So those are issues that we would look at. I mean, I agree, we need to get that property assessed. Forrest doesn't really need that property. If we don't sell that property, he'll buy the one that's down the road towards the bowling alley instead of our property. So, I mean, there's options there. Forrest just put the offer there, but we don't have to accept that. We're just looking for permission to move ahead and explore.
I noticed, curiously, I mean, that area does seem a little blighted. But now Topol's is gonna be upgrading, I understand.
TID district now, correct?
So is there other, are you guys aware of other improvements that are gonna be happening in that
Well,
general?
it's all in a TID. It's all in a
The city
TID.
is creating a TID district there.
Okay.
Yep.
And then right to the south of the new Topo garage is going to be townhouses. But I think they're talking, what, 8? Or 10, something like that?
16.
16?
16, I think. for
And then what they want to do on our side of the street is they want to put retail in. And just like what Jim was saying, that if they can purchase the town hall, which they've already purchased the lot to the south, then they can run their frontage along Highway 89. If they don't get the town hall, then they're, like Hope said, they're gonna buy the property that sits right to the west of that, and then they are going to run it down Sandy Beach Road as their frontage. And actually, the other thing too, if you drive by the town hall, if you take a look at, there's a lath that's painted orange on top. Actually, now Jay owns half of our paved parking lot. So we're really, kind of cramped in there, so. Go by there sometime, look at the stake is there.
That was always a shared lot. We never did own that lot. It was always shared when the restaurant was there, so.
Right.
But you can see very clearly where our property begins and where it ends. So I guess what I'm hearing tonight, I don't hear any major objections. I thought maybe I'd hear major objections.
Do you need a motion then for you to proceed going forward?
Yes.
Sorry, what's your name, gentlemen, sir? Sorry, repeat
To
that.
explore,
John Pierre.
Got it, thank you.
Are you making a motion, John?
yes,
To explore the possibilities,
of
the sale of the town hall?
town hall to Forest.
All right, is there a second to that? All in favor, please raise your hand. Aye. And all opposed?
Hold on, let me
Oh,
count.
sorry.
Hands up yet. 1, 2, 3.
Can I put 2?
It is kind of dark in here, isn't it?
Agree to take a look at the broker and what the
Okay,
value
got it,
is.
thank you.
Now, anyone opposed?
Any hands?
If I can ask a question,
Yes, sir.
in terms of a proposed future space at 7,500 square feet, what possibilities of not needing this large footprint with the options for a lot of people now to work from home? So that could lower the need for the square footage of a new facility, one. Then for the other, it's what would be the potential largest sizes and frequencies of needing a large meeting room? I know in the old town hall, I think maybe we had, was it 50, 60 people in that one time?
I think the biggest need comes with elections, is the need to be able to have people inside, especially during bad weather.
Okay, so for the outliers, when we have a need for a larger space, other facilities, if we're only going to use it once or twice or 3 times a year, okay, to make sure that the police have a proper place, storage has is proper, but and then for our average meeting sizes, but for the outliers and sizes,
So maybe some flex space between,
Right.
like, maybe where the vehicles are parked versus the meeting space could be opened up somehow, or,
right, to keep the cost down as much as possible.
I'll make sure I
What
understand.
what about as a polling place? You could use more room as a polling place.
Certainly, that is one of the larger events that the town hosts, is a November election in a presidential year.
And then to make it easier for Robin would be then your voting booths would actually be mounted right to the wall, so they'd be flip out instead of having to put those curtains together, so it would be, you know, user-friendly.
And social distancing, you know. you gotta-
Correct.
Right.
ADA accessible.
Yeah, yep, there's another one.
Accessibility. All right,
We got a vote. I think we just
You
need,
did vote.
so motion,
the motion was accepted, and we'll go forward as a board from here. You will be informed of any time when we might have to reconvene a meeting of the electorate in order to sell, buy, or make an offer. Moving on. Discussion and/or decision of the town board annual salaries as regulated by statute 60.106 and 60.321. Robin and Sharon have prepared some material for us to look at. They are asking for a raise in their salaries, and I guess this is a good time as any to discuss that. Do you ladies want to outline what you've put forward?
So, just so everybody knows, it's been since April of 2010, since the last time anyone on the board got an increase in salary, which has been, just will be 10 years ago. And how it works is, because we're elected, the increase doesn't start until a new term starts. So every 2 years, there's a new term of office when we're re-elected or elected to a position. In this big packet, as I sat down I took notes for the last 2 years of things I do on a daily basis, things I do on an annual basis. I looked at state statutes and compiled basically, for my packet, what a clerk does. It's all over the board. I mean, you go from elections to financial to budget to, you know, taking the phone calls and emails or record keeping. There's a lot to the position. And I'm not going to regurgitate all this for you. You can certainly read. What I did was, especially in this last year with elections, I think are going to be forever changed. People are understanding the absentee ballot system better, probably be more convenient for most of them. So I put together how many hours I normally do in an average year, both minimum and maximum. And the biggest difference when you look at the hours is in the number of hours for elections. If there's a year where we have one election or two elections and they're not highly contested, it's more minimum hours. But then you have years like this year, and I can easily put in a 40-hour to 60-hour week processing absentees, getting absentees out, answering questions. And at $21,500 a year, plus all the other tasks, it's a big task. And I know it's a very important task. I certainly personally enjoy it. And as you look at the numbers, and especially down at the bottom, I use an estimate of $20 per hour just for the sake of comparing. I think anyone with the skill set needed as a clerk would hopefully be making at least $20 an hour. I've worked for 4 municipalities. The highest wage I got as a deputy clerk was $21 an hour. And that's as a deputy clerk, not an actual clerk. The clerk of that particular municipality was making $80,000 a year, full-time. I'm not asking for something like that. You know, I enjoy what I do. We're a small town. I understand budgets obviously are tight. But $21,500 a year is just not matching up to the position's requirements and duties any longer. What I came up with the hours that I'm putting in for a minimum, it's at least $25,000 a year, up to $44,000 or $45,000 a year if it's a really heavy, busy year with a lot of projects, a lot of elections, major issues we're dealing with. I'm just asking for something kind of in between there to bump it up. It's been 10 years. Things are not going to get easier with elections. Our town is going to continue to grow. I don't foresee us looking at wages again probably for another 10 years. So I guess I want you to look at what is the value of the clerk's position, not necessarily me, because if somebody else is in the role, the same duties and the same requirements, the same skill sets, not going to change. So look at the value of what the clerk's position is and consider a raise.
Okay, the treasurer's job has increased over the last 10 years too.
during the summer, between May 1st and, well, it'll be till September 30th, it'll be about 300 hours that I put in just with the boat launch, counting the money and issuing the annual permits to people. It's all a process by hand, and it just takes a lot of time. And I would like an increase too.
Currently, you're making
12,000 a year.
12,000.
Okay, your thoughts, your meeting. Go ahead.
Hi, okay, so I work in an office, I do a lot of the stuff that Robin is doing right now, so I'm gonna address that one first. Based on a normal office situation in our area, the going rate for someone locally is anywhere from $15 to $20 an hour. I personally have bugged Robin numerous times this year with questions, be it from, hey, our recycling didn't get picked up, our big garbage didn't get picked up, thank you very much. Oh, I got this letter and don't understand it. This is all after hours. I mean, when I go to work, I work from 7 until 3. Robin's on call pretty much probably from 7 in the morning till 10 at night from people within the community, if they have her phone number and can text her. Hopefully I haven't done that to you after 9. I try not to do that.
And that's where the flexibility is really good.
One thing to add to that, emergency is 24/7.
Okay. So I just did a basis based on the 21,500. At a normal 8-hour-a-day job, she'd be making $10.34 an hour. With the skill set that she has and the classes she has to take to stay on top of everything, I think that is exceedingly low. I'm wondering if there's a possibility of having a graduated, and I love other people's input on this, a graduated pay scale for someone who has Zippo experience, me coming into that position. For somebody who brings a ton of experience, doesn't have to take a ton of classes that the county's or the township's going to have to pay for. Only take the kind to keep her on top of things. Based at the current rate at the 25,620, which is based on the 1,200 and some hours that you put in, that would be only $16.78 an hour. That's base low for Lake Mills. Is it possible to do it based on hourly wage at $20 an hour for her? Is that, I mean, it's always been a salaried position.
It's always, I think by statute it's salaried.
Yeah.
Right, so you really have to consider sort of a whole number rather than per hour. I use the per hour just for a comparison because I think that's more relatable for people. So.
And I just think that, yes, she does deserve a pay raise. I mean, and I think the treasurer does too, but I haven't done the numbers. So I can't speak on that one.
Go ahead, Mike.
I largely concur. I employ a number of secretarial type staff and office managers and personal assistants and such. And you're right, we're pretty much spot on for the wage parameters there. I have to engage Robin. She's fabulous. You know, you reach out to her, you get questions. That wasn't necessarily, and nothing against the prior clerk, but that wasn't necessarily the case there. That's my fear, is, you know, we're maybe potentially going to, you know, put this out there for our all-star, and then she goes a different direction later on down the road, and we're stuck with whoever, you know. So, but at the same time, if the position doesn't pay well, you're not going to attract the talent. So, you know, I want to do a little bit of that math, but I'm kind of there.
In addition to a salary increase, I also agree with the salary increase. $25 an hour would be a good place to start the vote, but also funding some kind of automated workflow process. During a lot of the processes have to be by hand. Upgrading the technology so that we can continue to work smarter, not have to work harder. he's the tasking things.
Any areas that you think are not maybe as technical
I was just,
to
I
help?
was just carrying from your side, that we got my needs, so that's.
I was just looking at the numbers, mail administration, which means Robin must leave home, go to the town hall, pick up the mail, and then bring it back to her own home and office there. No one is currently working at the town hall. Most everyone that works for the town of Lake Mills works from home. And speaking for myself, I've done this job for probably 10, 12 years now, and I'm making $9,000 a year. And it's not feasible anymore to work as hard as I do and be on call at all times for that kind of cash. It's just not feasible. But at the same time, then what else gives? You know, do we not repair roads? Do we not hang signs? Do we not, well, certainly not build a new town hall. We have some financial pressures. It'd be great to be able to issue these raises, but I don't know where this money is going to get pinched from. Something else has to give. And as a public servant and an elected official, I don't expect to get rich doing this job, but I also don't expect to have to be on call in the middle of the night when a tree falls down. But that's the way it is. And I appreciate that. I'll give back a little to get a little. I'm sure you guys feel the same way. It's always fun to show up with a chainsaw at 3 in the morning, right?
Who's bringing the coffee?
What do you think we should do, you guys?
Well, what are you asking for? What do you want?
Well, I would
Sharon.
like mine increased from 12,000 to 15,000.
So you want 15. Rob?
Ideally, to make the salary increase last for a number of years, I would say 30. But I hear hope, you know, budget-wise, it's tough. And I do like the fact that I can work from home. To me, that's valuable. So to find a balance of the two, I think is
What are you at now?
21.5. I do know that the equalized value of the town has gone up 20%.
Yeah, we're gonna use that for roads.
Okay. That's across the board, yep. So,
Our road budget is a disaster.
yeah, it's bad.
I mean, after everything, we had like $37,000 to spend this year. That's it. So, I mean, we're fighting that battle too. I just think 30's too big of a jump in one year. Visit it in 2 years from now. So, yeah. You know,
My thought is, I agree that I think that they both deserve a raise. And I understand that they do work hard, and I've seen their work, and I do appreciate it. What about if we threw like a percentage? I don't know, and I don't want to insult anybody, but if we're all trying to fit within this budget, a 10% raise for each one. On the clerk position, it would be $2,150, and the other one would be $1,240. That's just something that I'm throwing out as not where you want to be, but it's a step in the right direction, and if somebody else has some other idea, I'd be willing to listen to that too. Like a 10% increase, and then over a 3-year, and then
And we have to think of matter of terms.
it'll be 2 years.
Every 2 years, a new term starts.
How much do members of the town board make, and how long has it been since that amount has been increased?
I don't know, what do we make, Dave?
5,500
It'd
each?
be right around 5,000, 5,200. And
55, I think we make.
we have never had a raise since I've been on the board.
I know.
The only one that had a raise was the chair, which was $100 more a month than what we make. So, you know, it's been 20 years.
And how many hours do you, I mean, I'm just getting a comparison. I know you put in a lot more hours than people think you do.
I don't want to track it, Margaret. I don't want to track it because I would cry.
Yeah, sometimes you majorly earn your money, and then every once in a while you do have maybe a couple weeks that's kind of quiet.
Well, you know, people only see you at meetings, so, you know, they don't realize what you do in the background, but I've seen you down on Elm Point with a chainsaw,
Yeah.
you know, I mean,
And there's a lot to it, you know, you got a chainsaw, you got fuel, you got a truck, and if we have to go with a tractor or end loader, you know, then that's a lot of extra that, you know, you just kind of do it for the community.
yeah, I'm just looking for a picture, you know, an overall picture, so
I don't know.
I'm sure all of you are worth more money than you're getting paid.
But we went into the job knowing that.
I think that is part of being a public service.
Yes, it is.
I mean, I think, you know, the president gets paid 400 grand. I mean, you know, I don't care who sits in that chair, it's worth more than that.
But if it only gets revisited once every 10 years, I mean, even at 1% a year increase, inflation's more than that. So either you were wildly overpaid 10 years ago or you're underpaid today. It seems like tying it to some kind of cost increase, either assessed value increase or something that you could come back to later and go, you know, every 2 years, it's going to go up some percentage, everyone else's wages do. So I think it's appropriate, Glenn, I think you said 10% to start. And there's nothing that says you can't revisit this again next year.
2 years.
Well, 2 years. But you can talk about it next year to still be in effect in 2 years. And, you
Right,
know,
yeah.
Right,
Correct.
This is the one time we talk about it, but it doesn't happen until the next term. Talk about it again next year. But I think something should be done this year, and whether it's 10%, 12%, 8%, whatever the number is, I think it's appropriate to do an increase. Otherwise, you're paid down the line.
I'm going to agree with Mike's comment on, you know, the experience in what you bring to the table. And the clerk position, Sharon, don't get me wrong, because I know you got a lot to do too. The clerk position is a lot of activity. Not only taking care of everyone in the township, then Robin has to take care of us too. So it's a big job. And experience, if you have to start all over, when Sarah Fitzgibbon started, you know, she had Robin's guidance, but they're still always stumbling. And when Robin came back onto the board, there was a little bit of stumbling, but you had a lot of experience and, you know, you fell right back into it. So it is a big job. It's a big job.
I kind of like what you're saying, and maybe you scale things, you know, to some degree. We give a boost now, and then we scale it looking down the road. And again, you know, I don't want to offend anybody, but I would weigh, you know, a larger boost or, you know, a better scale to the clerk over the treasurer. You all serve an important purpose, but reinforcing what Dave just said, there's a lot more in that clerk position. So if we're, you know, going down that road, I just think that should be recognized. And Hope had a good point. Where does the money come from? Well, I guess we don't know that yet.
That'll be up to us to figure out. Something we'll give, though. Go ahead.
I just want to say, I work with Robin on the polls, and her work is amazing, and she's very organized, and I can just tell that she puts a ton of hours in just kind of how organized it is. I think she needs a pay raise, and I'm thinking, what good is a new building if we don't have the talent that will work in it? I would hate to lose Robin because someone's willing to pay her more doing this similar work that she's doing now to us.
Someone willing to make a motion?
I think as an electorate, we kind of have to come to a conclusion of the value that we're willing to make a motion on, right?
Yeah.
Right, because the state statutes make it so that the electors set the salary for the town board members, yes.
And are we doing this collectively, the two of you combined, or individually?
It's individually.
Okay.
Yeah.
A 15% raise for Robin would be 24,725.
4, 7.
You said 21,500, right?
Right.
Robin, are we allowed to scale it like what has been suggested?
I'm not
Or
sure.
we have to come back every 2 years?
We've never
Come
done
back
it
every
that
2
way
years.
before. I think you have to revisit it every 2 years.
Okay.
So I've never seen a scale done with salaried elected positions before, but maybe it's possible. I don't know.
Okay.
And 15% raise for Sharon would be 13.8. Just throwing them out, so you got an idea.
No, they were both at 15%.
Go ahead, Glenn.
I make a motion that we give the 15% to each individual,
Clerk and treasurer, right?
clerk and treasurer.
I'll second it.
Is there any more discussion?
About the board,
What?
be a separate?
They're not on the agenda. I'm cool.
I think I put everybody on there, town board members.
I don't know how Dave feels, but I'm fine where I'm at.
I'm fine with it. You know, it's, like I said, sometimes you really earn that plus more, and then every once in a while, it's pretty quiet. I'm okay.
I don't know how Hope feels about her position.
I just love my position.
I know when I was chairman for 8 years,
It's a lot
I
of
did a
work.
lot of road sign repair and
Yeah, you were
replacing,
always
a lot
out there.
of cutting trees. So I'm glad I'm not chairman right now, chairperson. But I know it's a lot of work, a lot of work. All the road, she's actually the highway commissioner also by state statute, so she's got to fill out all the state reports at the end of the year as far as road work we do and things, and Whistler, that's the state's road program, things.
One more comment.
When does this go into effect then? At the next election when
In April, after the,
Yeah, April 21.
now, we have a motion on the floor. Are you ready to vote?
Yes.
Raise your hands really high, 'cause it's dark.
Everyone who is in favor of this, please raise their hand. Aye. And all opposed, the same sign.
She wasn't done counting.
Her ayes,
12, okay.
got them.
Yes, thank you.
Nays,
All right. All opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
What do you suppose has happened to the lights here?
I thought they would come on.
I would then entertain a motion to adjourn the annual meeting.
I so moved.
Is there a second? All in favor, please raise your hand.
Who seconded it?
Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned. We'll take a short break and we'll move right on to our next meeting. My phone went dead, so
Move forward here.
I'm gonna need you to turn your light on.
We were kayaking one early morning.
Yeah, and that's why mine is dead. You guys got
Thanks for coming.
You bet.
enough light to operate?
Yep, we'll manage.
I don't know.
I'm not gonna find
There.
my agenda now. What do I do with it?
Welcome, what a lovely night. I'd like to call the town board meeting of the town of Lake Mills to order. It is September 8th, 2020. Immediately following our annual meeting, the notice for this meeting was posted at the town hall and also on the town's website. I would ask for a motion to adopt the agenda as published.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda is approved as printed. Item 3, approval of the minutes, and the first set of minutes is from, guess we'll do the special meeting of the town board on August 31st, 2020.
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes as printed.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor of approving the special town board meeting minutes from August 31st, please say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, the same sign. Also, then, we have the minutes from our August...
August 18th.
18th meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve as printed.
Second?
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Minutes are approved. Thank you very much. Item 4, approval of the treasurer's report.
We do, there's a public hearing and an annual town board meeting. Did we do both? Minutes?
Oh, for the minutes?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, we better do the public
Which one
hearing.
did we
For the
just do?
public hearing.
We just did the
You did
town
them.
board meetings, Jim.
Now
I'll
we'll
make
do
a
the...
motion to do, approve the public hearing,
Second.
August 18th.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the minutes from the public hearing on August 18th, please say aye. Aye. And all opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Item 4, approval of the treasurer's report.
Make a motion to approve treasurer's report as printed.
Second.
Is there any discussion or questions? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the September 20 treasurer's report, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And all opposed, the same sign. Treasurer's report is approved. Approval of the general funding vouching. Paperwork.
You got the disbursements, Dave? I don't know.
I do, yes.
I'm holding the light.
I'll make a motion to approve September's disbursements of $96,116.89.
I'll second the motion.
Is there any discussion or any questions?
Nope.
Hearing none. All in favor of approval, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, the same sign. The general funding vouching is approved. Item 6, reports. The chief's report. Officer Miller.
For the boat patrol of August, we had 133 and a half hours of boat patrol, issued 7 citations, 11 warnings. We did 13 safety inspections and compliance checks and assisted 2 watercraft getting off the lake. We had 44 hours of road patrol, handled 4 complaints, spent 4 hours on those complaints, did 14 traffic stops, 8 warnings, 13 citations, 9 hours running stationary radar, 4 ordinance citations, 4 residence checks, 8 park checks, and 1 extra patrol monitored.
Thank you. Any questions for Chief? Thank you, Chief Miller. Item B, the Planning Commission report. Jim.
The one petition from, sorry, forgot. Sherry Stern for the variance was approved by the Planning Commission. That was, that's all.
Item C, Joint Rock Lake Committee report. We had quite a discussion about the Woodland Beach channel markers, and that was, decision was postponed until next month. Item D, Public Works report.
John emailed me during the annual meeting, said that their meeting is running late tonight.
All right. I enjoyed reading his written report, and I hope that he will keep that up. Item 7 is a period of public comment or questions from the audience. Is there anyone who has a comment or question? Hearing none, we'll move on. Item 8, a review of applications filed. A, discussion and or decision of a request made by Sherry Stern for a variance to allow for a reduced setback of 0.5 feet from the rear lot line of an existing structure in an A1 zone at W9226 London Road. Sherry here?
Yes, here.
Hi, thank you for coming. As reported by Jim, the Planning Commission sent this along to us with their recommendation. Do you want to give us a little background, Sherry?
I'm not quite sure how it all started, but my ex-husband built a shop on the property 20 years ago, and the neighbor had a surveyor came out and said that we were on the property by 3 or 3.5 feet or something, which really isn't the case because we built the shop on the existing foundation of an old building that was on the property when we bought it. So then I think that they filed a complaint with Jefferson County. I'm not exactly sure how everything panned out, but so that's why I'm applying for this variance to try to straighten out.
But it is on your property, though. It's just a setback.
Yes, from what I understand, yes.
It's a building that's been there 20-plus years on an existing foundation, concrete.
Okay.
And behind their property, I don't know if you were there, there's an old barn, old corn crib, bunch of old junk machinery.
Yes.
Maybe we should look into cleaning that up.
So, I don't have any particular objections. I think this is kind of a housekeeping event, is it not? I will make a motion to approve the request by Sherry Stern for a variance to allow a reduced setback of .5 feet from the rear lot line on W9226 London Road. Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. And all opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Sorry to bring you out on this nasty night.
Thank you very much.
Item B, discussion and/or decision of a request to add a culvert and fill to replace the ditch in the stormwater easement that is part of Lot 73, W8311, Bridle Path, Sherwood Hills North Subdivision, contractor Jamie Gould, homeowner Darren Fugelstead. I see you guys here. Thank you for coming. You want to state your case and we'll go from there?
I'm Danny Gould, I'm the builder. What we're looking to do is add a culvert to replace a drainage ditch. The reason we're looking to do it is because I didn't go out and look at the property prior like I usually do, and I thought that was no problem putting a siding garage on there. That's not the case, and so what we're looking to do is fix the problem while causing no harm to a neighbor, the environment, anybody. And so we have given you the engineering on that. I believe you should have everything that you need. And we're just looking to fix the problem. And actually, the ditch right now is not mowed because it's steep. And I think that if we were to do this, we could make it look a lot better there too. I did provide a letter from the immediate neighbor to the north, and they have no issue with this as well.
See, I don't have any of that. I just have this.
Jamie, I had emailed you, I copied you, Hope, on that last Friday. We got the immediate emails that you had sent shortly after the last meeting. Did you send any after that? Because I had not heard from you, and I had asked if you had anything else to add as of last Friday.
I don't think so, because there was some communication back and forth with Hope, whoever's to your right. I don't know if I forget your name, sir.
Jim. Jim Hines.
Because you had replied with some questions, correct?
Right, for the invert of the storm culvert.
Okay.
The in and out. And you gave me those. Only a drop. They're right here. 862 and 856. So there's a 6-foot drop on that culvert from one inlet to the outlet. I questioned the size of the culvert, and you had your engineer said that 15-inch was adequate, even though there's a 15 coming across the road, and then there's a 15 coming down on your side of the road. That's two 15s running into a 15. It still doesn't make sense to me, but
there's actually a 15 crossing the road, and the one to the north is a 12-inch culvert, like a 30-foot stick of 12-inch.
Okay.
For the outlet.
Okay.
And
that would be my only concern. I mean, your engineer did the study. I don't know. I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
And again, the sizing is based on the slope and the available pitch.
Right.
I mean, the 15-inch crossing the road is like this.
Right.
I mean, it's flat.
Pretty much.
And like this, I mean, it can, convey more water. So that's essentially.
I agree with Jim. I think 15-inch is marginal unless it's a smooth culvert. So I would like to see it 18 or a 24, which I think you're going to have plenty of cover even if it was a 24. And granted, from your side of the street, there's not a lot of water that comes down because 2 lots up you have a breaking point, and then you are a breaking point. So the majority of your water is coming from across the road. But one thing we don't want is we don't want any water pooling right there or whirlpooling. So I think, 18 would be better than 15.
Well, I mean, I gave you guys all the engineering.
Right, yeah, I see that.
My engineer was very generous in the drainage area, and he used a higher runoff coefficient. I think it's normally a 0.4 is what you use for residential. He plugged in 0.5, just to bump it up a little bit, and still kept out at 15.
Yeah, I understand that, but we're a little bit water shy in this town because we have problems on Sherwood Hills Road. I've seen 5-inch rains, 6-inch rains in this township in the last 10 years, just within an hour. I mean, those are, deluges, but, and they don't figure for those. Their 100-year rain is, the Dells just had this.
Yeah, it's every other year now.
3 weeks ago it was 8 inches of rain.
Yep.
Unbelievable. So
18 inches, not gonna.
What you're saying is you want me to bump it up to
18.
I would like to see it, yeah. It's not gonna cost you a lot more, and you got plenty of cover. So that's not gonna be marginal at all.
I don't have an issue with encroaching on the easement. It's an easement. It's not a structure that's being built on that easement. So I don't have an issue with it. I would recommend that you make it as short as possible, though, so we get more seepage into the ground and things, I mean, you'll work out your grading and you'll do what you have to do, but try to keep it.
Yeah, no, we already did that.
Yep, I know you did from the first.
We shrunk it up a little bit.
Just want you to keep that in mind.
Then I gotta bring, I'm gonna do riprap and
Yep.
safety grades and everything else.
Right, safety grapes on the ends. Nobody crawls in it.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the encroachment on the drainage easement
I'll second it.
with an 18-inch culvert.
Yep, second.
All right, is there any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign.
Get her done, make her look nice.
We will, thanks.
Thank you. Item 9, new business. Discussion and decision of a resolution to County Highway Committee to open up portions of several county highways to UTV and ATV traffic. The resolution is now typed and printed.
You read it?
Yes?
Yep.
Petition, Town of Lake Mills Resolution 2020-0908, petition to Jefferson County Highway Committee to allow ATV, UTV traffic on certain sections of county highways within the jurisdiction of the Town of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, as a preferred route to access local businesses within the town. Whereas the state statute 23.338E5 allows a town, village, city, or county to designate highways under its jurisdiction as all-terrain vehicle routes, and under paragraph B2, the town, village, city, or county may designate a preferred route and erect signs marking the route. And whereas the town of Lake Mills has opened up all town highways within its jurisdiction to ATV, UTV traffic per town ordinance passed on September 10th, 2019, and whereas under state statute, county highways within town that has designated all town highways under its jurisdiction open to ATV, UTVs that have a speed limit of 35 miles per hour or less are also open to ATV, UTV traffic, and whereas the sections of County Highway B, O, and V within the town of Lake Mills have speed limits of 35 miles per hour or less and by state statute are open to ATV, UTV traffic, and whereas the ATV, UTV clubs in the county have requested that certain preferred routes be established on county highways to allow ATV, UTV access to businesses within the town, and whereas the town board of the town of Lake Mills is in support of allowing ATV, UTV traffic on sections of counties highways B, O, and V to allow the creation of these preferred routes within the town, and whereas the town board of the town of Lake Mills would support opening up the following sections of highways B, O, and V. Number 1, Highway B from the intersection of Pine Street west to the intersection of Sherwood Hills Road. The section from the intersection of Lakeview Road to Sherwood Hills Road would be open to local ATV, UTV traffic only and would be signed appropriately. And number 2, Highway O from the intersection of South Crowville Road south to the intersection of East Main Street in the hamlet of London. And number 3, Highway V from the intersection with Highway B at N7826 County Trunk V, which is Mo's bar east to the city limits of Lake Mills at W7655 County Highway V, which is the pizza pit. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Lake Mills is prepared to work with the county highway committee and the ATV UTV clubs to create these preferred routes to local businesses within the town of Lake Mills.
Thank you, sir.
I'll just add this was the county highway committee chairman, I think he is, George from the town of George Jacob from the town of Waterloo, had a conversation with the ATV clubs, and then he called me to see how the town of Lake Mills felt about it, and I said that we would put together a resolution and see if it passed and then send it on to him so he can take it to his highway committee and then eventually to the county board. So that's what the history was.
Okay. You want to make a motion?
I'd make a motion to approve the resolution 2020-09-08 as read.
I will second it.
Is there any discussion?
The only discussion I have, I did talk to Steve Nass about that a little bit, Jim, and Jim, he felt that that was going to be a highway committee decision, and if it gets, pursued any further, then they would have to write an ordinance, and then that would then become before the county board. Also, as Steve kind of explained it to me.
Okay.
And the county already does have some areas in the county that they do have approvals. Highway D is one of them. And I think that's in the town
Highway
of...
O has in Waterloo.
Yep, Highway O. So it does happen.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none.
Roll call.
We have a roll call vote.
Okay. Chairperson Ostek,
Nay.
Supervisor Schrader,
Aye.
Supervisor Hines.
Aye.
Right.
So,
Forward that on to the County Highway Commission.
Yeah, I got a copy to sign when we're all done here.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Item B, discussion and decision of the riprap on Cedar Lane culvert. Well, this has kind of fallen all apart since we last talked. In the beginning, when we were planning this, Wes Dawson was going to have his property riprapped, and we were going to do the town property at the end of the Cedar Lane culvert. Now, Wes has basically decided not to move forward with that, and so I have been in discussion with two entities, the department, the Land Conservation Department, because of the engineering and the permitting that we had at one time. Also, an offer to do 50% cost share on that has come from the county, and there is cash there to fund that. Although without Wes, it means we're going to need to go back to the 4 different contractors and change the lineal footage of what's involved, and also ask for permission from the county to apply for just that portion. I was feeling a little under the gun as far as the weather goes, but Patricia assured me that these riprap jobs can be accomplished in the winter months, so I intend to go forward and get an RFP back to these 4 contractors, because we need to have different lineal footage. And Wes and I agreed that we would decide where on his property the right-of-way was. We'll work that out together, because I'm pretty sure Cedar Lane is not a standard road. What else comes into play? Also, when we work with the county on a cost share bid, we must by law take the lowest bid for the cost share, although we can pick any contractor we want, but we would pay the difference. But there is an offer of 50% cost share on that, so that's a win-win. I will put that together and we'll bring that back.
So we should figure for an RFP to be let at the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
I think we have the attention of all 4 contractors, and we should be able to do that. It's unfortunate that Wes has decided not to go forward on that, but he feels that he cannot make decisions on a channel that he is going to be unable to use, and that's unfortunate. Moving on, item C, discussion and decision of the fall road tour. You guys got a specific date in mind? Are you thinking about a Friday?
No.
Are you thinking about a Monday? Are you thinking about a Tuesday? Are you thinking about a Wednesday?
Monday through Thursday is okay with me.
Okay. So what would you think about Tuesday, the 22nd of September?
Can we move it up sooner?
Sure? Well, I don't know.
What about like the 15th?
I could do that next week. You think you're gonna pick corn?
Hey, you know what? It's closer than we thought. So I want to try to open my calendar up a little. And there's a lot of things going on between now and the 8th, 10th of October.
15th at what time? 8 a.m.? Should be done by noon.
To meet at the hall?
Meet at the town hall.
That time to post it?
Yes? Isn't there?
Yes.
And, yeah. All right.
It was just starting to feel better, wasn't it?
So we got that down, Robin?
Yes, I've got that.
Item 10, old business. Any board expense approval sheets?
I have my mileage from the August election.
All right, you'll pass that around. Any correspondence, Robin? Can you see to do that?
I had Mrs. Neff's letter that I forwarded to all the board members in regarding to the garbage pickup incident when the county highway was being redone on Highway A. I don't know if that's something you want to read or if that's just something. I've got the letter here.
Yeah, there was nothing that could be done because they were blocking, the county was blocking the road off.
Right, I don't feel like it was necessarily John's fault that they
No.
couldn't provide services.
Yeah, it was one of those things. You wouldn't let them pass Crossman Road. They were stopping everybody.
Do you think we should be responding somehow? I mean, I talked to her and I talked to Johns that day and said, please get this together, you know. Do you think I should be responding to her in any other way?
Well, she said in her letter that she's requesting that Town of Lake Mills get credit for the service not provided by Johns for the following residents on Highway A, which consisted of a total of $83.34 for that. I think that should be addressed, please.
The minute you start doing that,
you're in trouble.
You know, I put garbage out and they missed me, so I just haul it back, put it out the next week.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
and I know
everybody, that happens to everybody on occasion, once in a while, not very often. Rarely.
Rarely, and their customer service has been excellent.
Yeah.
I have no
So,
problem with them.
You can't.
All right, we're letting that one ride. Meeting scheduled, September 16th, 2020, 2 to 6. What is that, Robin?
Hold on, I gotta get my agenda.
Open book.
Where are you looking here?
The 16th and the 17th.
That's open book.
Open book.
Oh, sorry, I didn't finish my thought on that, did I?
Open book.
Yep, open book dates.
October, okay, then we've also got our September 15th, 8 a.m. road tour. October 6th, Joint Rock Lake Committee. October 6th, Town Planning Committee at 7. Our next meeting is October 7th, Board of Review at the Town Hall between 4 and 6. And October 13th is our next Town Board regular meeting. Anything else to add to that? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make it.
Second.
Thank you. The meeting is adjourned.